अब विंडोज पर भी पुस्तकें पढ़ना हुआ आसान, क्योंकि सक्षम ने लॉन्च किया है डॉल्फिन इजी रीडर फॉर विंडोज, अ फुली एक्सेसिबल रीडिंग ऐप फॉर पीपल विद डिसलेक्सिया, लो विजन और ब्लाइंडनेस। ये ऐप sectec.in पर अवेलेबल है। इस ऐप का लाइसेंस पाने के लिए आज ही लॉग इन करें www.sectec.in और 2 दिन के अंदर पाएं इस ऐप का लाइसेंस। ज्यादा जानकारी के लिए कॉल करें 9266626368। हैप्पी रीडिंग।
We are in an emergency. A 747 going towards South Africa fills with smoke. There is a fire in the cargo area of the plane, but the plane can't land. It is far too over the Indian Ocean.
The first thought, I think, for many, many South Africans was what was on that plane.
The passengers are choking on toxic fumes.
Request a full emergency, please.
Affirmative, that's Charlie, Charlie.
और एक ही तरीका है उस स्मोक को रिमूव करने का. The crew tries to use the risky and rarely used maneuver.
Open the doors.
और वो है फ्लाइट के दौरान दरवाजे खोल देना.
Springbok 295, listen.
It is a race against time as the plane burns up. समुद्र में क्रैश करने से पहले उसे किसी न किसी तरह जमीन पर पहुंचना है.
Springbok 295, listen.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं हूं आपका दोस्त, आपका होस्ट भामरी, लेकर के आया एक नया एपिसोड आपके फेवरेट शो दुर्घटनाएं डिजास्टर्स का. ये शो जो आप हर हफ्ते सुनते हैं आपके फेवरेट इंटरनेट रेडियो स्टेशन रेडियो उड़ान पे, जो कि है अ फ्लाइट ऑफ लाइफ. और इस शो में हम हर हफ्ते चर्चा करते हैं किसी न किसी नई दुर्घटना की, किसी न किसी डिजास्टर की. और आज के शो में हम चर्चा करेंगे नवंबर 27, 1987 की एक घटना. 27 नवंबर 1987, a South African Airways Boeing 747 jet flies home from Taiwan.
Everything good?
Fine, Captain. Ready to take over?
Yes, thanks.
9 hours in their journey over Indian Ocean, the main crew comes back for duty, relieving the relief shift, who can now rest for some time. The crew prepares for a scheduled stop over the island of Mauritius. Valerie Lottering has enjoyed her first overseas trip, joining her husband Corey, who was on business.
My father was on a business trip. My mum had gone with for holidays. My dad had actually gone to the east to secure cell phone technology, which was just sort of happening in South Africa at the time.
प्लेन जो है मॉडिफाइड 747 जेट है और उसको बुलाया जाता है कॉम्बी, शॉर्ट फॉर कॉम्बिनेशन, अ पैसेंजर प्लेन एंड अ कार्गो प्लेन इन वन. और इस तरह से उसका डिजाइन है टू अकोमोडेट फ्लेक्सिबल क्वांटिटीज ऑफ पैसेंजर एंड कार्गो. तो कॉम्बी के पास जो है एक लार्ज कार्गो एरिया है बिलो, जस्ट लाइक अ नॉर्मल 747, और उसके अंदर एक लार्ज कार्गो एरिया है बिहाइंड द लास्ट रो ऑफ इकोनॉमी क्लास सीट्स. कॉकपिट जो है एक लेवल अबव द केबिन है.
You could load from 6 to 12 pallets on the main deck, adjusting the bulkhead for the number of passengers you wanted to carry. And this turned out to be a very worthwhile and useful tool.
फ्लाइट 295 के अंदर 159 लोग हैं और 6 पैलेट्स ऑफ कार्गो है. इस प्लेन को बुलाया जाता है हेल्डरबर्ग एंड इट इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट मेंबर्स ऑफ द साउथ अफ्रीकन फ्लीट एंड इट इज पर्टिकुलरली यूजफुल फॉर लॉन्ग रेंज फ्लाइंग.
For South African Airways, during the days of apartheid, a plane like the Combi helped them in that respect, because they had to fly around the bulge of Africa over the Atlantic.
साउथ अफ्रीका में उस दौरान अपार्थाइड चल रहा था एंड टू प्रोटेस्ट अगेंस्ट द वाइट रेजिम जितनी भी अफ्रीका की ब्लैक स्टेट्स थी उन्होंने उस साउथ अफ्रीकन एयरवेज के प्लेन को अपनी एयर स्पेस के ऊपर से उड़ने की परमिशन नहीं दे रखी थी। इसलिए जो था साउथ अफ्रीकन एयरवेज के प्लेन्स को लंबे दूरी पे तय करके जाना पड़ता था।
There were sanctions, heavy sanctions against South Africa on political, economic and cultural fronts. South Africa was not welcome anywhere credible in the world.
मॉरिशस में उड़ने के तकरीबन 1 घंटा पहले फ्लाइट 295 के ऊपर जो है स्मोक अलार्म बजने लगता है। इट इज ऑन द मेन डेक, कार्गो एरिया जो है मेन डेक पे जो था वहाँ का अलार्म बज रहा है जो कि पैसेंजर सीट्स के ठीक पीछे स्थित था। The fire is raging by the time the crew gets to it.
It's bad.
Shall I get another bottle over there?
Yeah, hurry.
Read out the fire checklist for us, please.
फायर इमरजेंसीज के दौरान क्रू जो है एक फायर चेकलिस्ट को फॉलो करता है टू एक्सटिंग्विश द फायर।
The breaker pop is well, huh? We'll check the breaker panel as well.
The fire is burning through the plane's wiring, creating short circuits.
Move as far forward as you can.
और एक और इमीडिएट प्रॉब्लम है सबके सामने और वो थी कि पैसेंजर्स वर फेसिंग डिफिकल्टी इन ब्रीदिंग।
Duct isolation valve switches, open. Pack valve switches, all open. Recirculating fan switches, off.
जो फायर चेकलिस्ट है वो हिदायत देती है पायलट्स को टू लैंड देयर एयरक्राफ्ट एट द क्लोजेस्ट एयरपोर्ट, लेकिन जो भी क्लोजेस्ट एयरपोर्ट है वो मॉरिशस के अंदर स्थित है और जो कि अभी भी 300 किलोमीटर दूर से ज्यादा दूरी पर है। There is not a lot Captain Hayes can do, and he instructs one of his flight crew member to help extinguish the fire.
Bring me another bottle.
Captain Hayes initiates an immediate descent, और वो कॉल करते हैं on the island of Mauritius, which is on good terms with South Africa. सुबह के 4 बजे से कुछ पहले का टाइम है जबकि एयर ट्रैफिक कंट्रोलर ऑन मॉरिशस रिसीव्स द कॉल।
Mauritius, Springbok 295.
Springbok 295, Mauritius. Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning. We have a smoke problem and we're doing emergency descent to level 140.
Confirm you wish to descend to level 140.
Yeah, we've already commenced due to a smoke problem in the aeroplane.
Do you request a full emergency, please?
Affirmative. That's Charlie.
कैप्टन एज जो है एकदम काम साउंड कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उन्हें एक तरीका ढूंढना पड़ेगा कि प्लेन में जो इतना धुआं भर गया है उसको निकालने के लिए चीखता है चीख। जो भी कुछ कार्गो एरिया में जल रहा है वो बहुत ही भयंकर धुआं पैदा कर रहा है और जो कि धीरे धीरे केबिन में बढ़ता जा रहा है और वो पैसेंजर्स के लिए बहुत ही घातक भी सिद्ध हो सकता है।
Your actual position, please. Say again.
Actual position.
Captain Ace is losing power to many of his instruments.
We've lost a lot of electrics. We haven't got anything on the aircraft now.
वो कहाँ पे है इस वक्त, इस बारे में उन्हें कोई श्योरिटी नहीं है। ये दूसरी तरफ एयरपोर्ट पे जो इमरजेंसी लैंडिंग की सब तैयारी हो जा रही है।
Supplementary vent fan switch, off. Recirculating fan switches, on. Smoke condition.
Hold on, I'll check downstairs.
To get rid of the smoke, Helderberg क्रू जो है एक और चेकलिस्ट फॉलो करता है। धुआं जो है केबिन में बढ़ता ही जा रहा है।
It's worse.
We can't breathe down here.
प्लेन जो है 4500 मीटर की ऊंचाई पर उड़ रहा है और चेकलिस्ट जो है हिदायत देती है कैप्टन को एक ऐसा मनूवर करे जो कि बहुत डेंजरस है और ऐसा कभी किसी न किसी पायलट ने शायद ही किया हो।
We need to open the doors. Repeat, open the doors.
और वो हिदायत देते हैं कि दरवाजे को मिड एयर में ही खोल दिया जाए, प्लेन के दरवाजों को। ये ऐसा मैनूवर है कि हो सकता है कि इससे धुआं जो है निकल जाए बिफोर इट kills the passengers before the plane gets to land onto the ground. As the cabin of the South African Airways flight fills with smoke, there is only one way to reduce the smoke before it kills the passengers.
Outer flight level 150 for 140. 150 for 140. 150.
कैप्टन जो है अपना डिसेंट करना शुरू करते हैं 4500 मीटर्स की ऊंचाई तक, जिससे कि दरवाजे प्लेन के खोल दिए जा सके। और इस ऊंचाई पे यानी कि 4500 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे पैसेंजर जो है बाहर की हवा में सांस ले सकते हैं। उस ऊंचाई पे द प्रेशर ऑफ द एयर इनसाइड द केबिन एंड आउटसाइड इज इनफ टू फोर्स द स्मोक आउटसाइड ऑफ द प्लेन। और ये हवा जो है जल्दी से बाहर निकल सकती है बट नॉट डेंजरसली। और यहाँ पे जो है कैप्टन को अपनी एयरक्राफ्ट की स्पीड भी करनी पड़ेगी टू 370 किलोमीटर पर आवर या 200 नॉट्स। इससे और अगर तेज हुई तो क्रू जो है वो दरवाजे नहीं खोल पाएगा।
This is Captain Oy speaking. We're opening 2 of the entry doors to clear smoke from the cabin. Do not panic. You'll be much more comfortable once we complete this procedure.
You just crack the door, and this generates a tremendous amount of airflow through the airplane.
Blazing Springbok 295. We've opened the doors to see if we can... we should be okay. Out there! Close the bloody door. Joe, switch up quickly. Then close the hole on your side.
धुआं जो है अब कॉकपिट में भी भरने लगा है और यहाँ पे तो कोई आउटसाइड दरवाजा है नहीं खोलने के लिए।
Temperature is 2222 and the QNH is 1018 hectopascals. 1018 over.
Air traffic controller जो है he is now focusing on giving the captain the information which he now requires for landing.
Roger, 1018.
Affirmative. And both runways are available if you wish. And 295, I request pilot's intention.
We'd like to track in on 13.
Confirm runway 13.
Charlie, Charlie.
Affirmative, you're cleared direct to Foxtrot, Foxtrot. You report approaching 50.
Okay.
कैप्टन के पास सिर्फ एक ही आशा की किरण है, वो है आइलैंड ऑफ मॉरिशस पे अपना प्लेन लैंड करना, जो कि तकरीबन अभी 260 किलोमीटर दूर है अभी उनसे। The Helderberg continues on its desperate journey.
295, play sense.
सुबह के 4:08 पे a call from the air traffic controller is not returned.
Springbok 295, play sense. Springbok 295, play sense.
36 मिनट तक कोई रिप्लाई नहीं आया प्लेन से और उसके बाद एयर ट्रैफिक कंट्रोलर जो मॉरिशस में थे ही डिक्लेयर्स एन इमरजेंसी। सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू क्रूज के पास एक अलर्ट चला जाता है। मॉरिशस से कितने ही जहाज भी आसमान पे उड़ते हैं टू सर्च फॉर द मिसिंग प्लेन, लेकिन कुछ भी उनके हाथ नहीं लगता। जोहानिसबर्ग एयरपोर्ट पे फाइनली साउथ अफ्रीकन वाले अथॉरिटीज जो हैं वो भी इस फ्लाइट को डिलेड घोषित कर देती हैं।
We were supposed to be going away on our annual holiday, so we were all very excited because from picking them up, my parents up from the airport, we were supposed to go off to 3-week holiday. I think that's maybe the extent of the differences of the emotions, is that you're so anxious and excited for them to come home, and then the absolute devastation of the news, getting the news, you know, that the aircraft has gone missing.
अगले दिन दोपहर को जो रेस्क्यू प्लेन है एक, वो ढूंढ पर खोज देता है पार्ट ऑफ द प्लेन्स wreckage floating in the water. Rainier One Sail, the head of the South African Aviation Safety Board, is assigned to this case.
A normal investigator will only handle a major accident about once in 20 years in his career. So this was quite a big wake up and a challenge to us to start running with this investigation in that morning.
8 शव मिलते हैं पानी में तैरते हुए and they were all suffering from extreme trauma.
It was around about 2 o'clock that we in fact were advised that wreckage and an oil slick had been spotted. And it was then quite apparent that the airplane was lost.
The most astonishing thing is that my parents had actually, the night before they had flown, had sorted out their wills, had sorted out their insurances, had sorted out all of their documentation and paperwork before they flew, which was quite amazing. My father made very, very close family friends of ours, our guardians, our godparents, and we were to live with them.
South Africa became quickly obsessed with what had caused the crash. शुरुआती दिनों में तो बहुत थोड़ा सी चीज थी एग्जामिन करने के लिए और वो थे टुकड़े जो कि पानी में बह रहे थे. जो इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स थे उनको जो है 3 घड़ियां भी मिली थी floating in the debris. The watches give them a probable time of impact.
These wristwatches were in fact part of the baggage, and when examined we were able to find that the one had stopped and 2 others were still running, and the 2 running ones were the exact Taiwanese time, but the stopped one did give us the minute indication of what we could establish as the impact time of the airplane.
प्लेन के साथ जो लास्ट कम्युनिकेशन हुआ था उसके 3 मिनट बाद ही इम्पैक्ट टाइम बताया जा रहा है इस प्लेन का. The Helderberg's demise was sudden and dramatic. In the public opinion and the press, ये बात सबके दिमाग में आ रही थी कि something sinister had brought the plane down. In the years leading up to the crash, South African Airways offices around the world were a place of protest. लोग उनके सामने जाके protest किया करते थे.
The South African Airways airline at that particular time was a government body. It was owned by the government. It was the national carrier, but it was also very much perceived to be part of the South African government. So another aspect of this plane crash and another theory that was put around was that there could have been a bomb in the cargo, that in fact we were a target. South Africa, or the SAA plane, was a target of terrorists who had the worst interests of this country at heart.
जो भी wreckage के टुकड़े investigators के पास थे वो उन्हीं को examine करते हैं to find the signs of explosion in those pieces. Impact cavities, surface fittings, and or spattered cavities. Spattered cavities are caused by a white hot fragments from an highly explosive device causing the striking and melting the alloyed features of the plane surface. और एक्सपर्ट को कोई निशान नहीं मिलता है of an explosion. एयर ट्रैफिक कंट्रोलर के जो टेप्स हैं उनको जब एग्जामिन किया जाता है तो इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को पता लगता है कि कैप्टन और जो क्रू उनका था they were coping with the emergency.
Blazon Springbok 295, we've opened the doors to see if we can, we should be okay.
We've had rumors of atomic bombs, for example, in the airplane. That won't cause the airplane to burn. It will take out the airplane. We did not have that same experience here. This airplane flew for 22 minutes. It's out of the ordinary circumstances. This was not an explosion that took out the airplane.
With just small pieces of the wreckage to study, the investigators are stumped. उनको भी ये बात पता नहीं लगी है कि आग किस कारण से लगी और उस आग ने क्या रोल प्ले किया in the plane's destruction.
The obvious thing to do was to go and try and retrieve the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder, and as much wreckage as we can from the aircraft to establish what really had happened.
और ये दुख की बात है कि फोनसेल को भी ये भी बात पता नहीं लगी है कि अंडर वाटर का किस जगह पे जाके रैकेज मिलेगा. हो सकता है वो इस फ्लोटिंग डेब्री के बहुत दूर पड़ा हो. किसी को भी इस बात की श्योरिटी नहीं है कि किस जगह प्लेन क्रैश हुआ था. और वो टर्न करते हैं यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स की तरफ लुकिंग फॉर हेल्प. An American salvage company is hired to look for the black boxes and the wreckage, but time is against them. The black boxes have built-in locating devices called pingers और जो कि बैटरी पे चलते हैं और वो 1 महीने के अंदर वो बैटरी खत्म हो जाती है.
A driving factor was that the pinger on the data and voice recorders was transmitting, and it only had a 30-day guaranteed shelf life. If we couldn't get out there in 30 days, the chances were that we wouldn't be able to detect it.
And by the time all the equipment is collected in the Indian Ocean, सिर्फ 7 दिन की टाइम रह गया है, जबकि बैटरी और फिंगर्स जो हैं they will run down. Meanwhile, blood tests are run on the human remains which had been picked up from the wreckage site. All show traces of soot in their trachea. ये बात पता लगती है कि 2 पैसेंजर्स तो स्मोक इनहेलेशन की वजह से उनकी मौत हुई थी. जो इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स हैं उनके दिमाग में ये भी बात आती है कि as the crew was struggling to land their planes, कुछ पैसेंजर की तो मौत पहले ही हो चुकी थी. इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स जो हैं they continued to study the wreckage which they had found floating in the water, और दूसरी तरफ ब्लैक बॉक्सेस की खोज जो है जारी चल रही है. जो 100 आइटम्स रिकवर कर दिए गए हैं उसमें a partly melted graphite tennis racket बताता है कि आग की स्थिति क्या थी उनको इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को. ग्रेफाइट जो है वो तभी जलता है जबकि टेम्परेचर 600 डिग्री सेल्सियस के ऊपर का हो. तो इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को अब ये बात पता लगती है कि द फायर ऑन द हेल्डरबर्ग वाज एक्सट्रीमली हॉट, और इससे ये बात कभी पता लगता है कि अ फुली चार्ज फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर फ्रॉम द फ्रंट ऑफ द प्लेन इज फाउंड विद द फ्लोटिंग wreckage. इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स ये नोटिस करते हैं मेल्टेड पीस ऑफ द कार्गो नेटिंग ऑन द आउटसाइड ऑफ दिस एक्सटिंग्विशर. ये जो एक्सटिंग्विशर है ये केबिन एरिया का है, और इस बात का सबूत मिलता है कि जब आग जल रही थी तो किसी क्रू मेंबर ने इसको उठा के लेके गया होगा वो कार्गो एरिया में आग बुझाने के लिए.
A full fire extinguisher in a plane that was brought down by a fire shows that for whatever reason it wasn't discharged because the crew member couldn't access the area because of the heat, or the fact that there was melted metal on the fire extinguisher is further evidence to the intensity of the fire.
इस एक्सीडेंट से पहले जो बोइंग 747 कॉम्बी था उसके अगर पिछले 20 साल का रिकॉर्ड उठा के देखा जाए तो किसी की भी मौत नहीं हुई थी बिकॉज ऑफ फायर और स्मोक इनहेलेशन.
When we heard about a fire in the Helderberg, this was the first time for a wide-body airplane. It was news, and because it was so new, and the thought was that we really couldn't have anything like that.
किस कारण से इस कॉम्बी में आग लगी थी? क्या यह किसी वायरिंग की शॉर्ट सर्किटिंग की वजह से थी, या जो कार्गो था वही जलना शुरू हो गया था अपने आप किसी तरह?
Initially, the investigation, of course, focused on what was the cargo. The fire obviously had originated in the main deck cargo compartment, so the logical thing is to look what did the waybills indicate was carried in the airplane.
इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को इस बात का पता लगता है कि फ्लाइट 295 के अंदर 6 पैलेट कार्गो था. यूजिंग मास्टर वेबिल्स, फॉन्सेल और उनकी टीम ये पता लगा लेती है कि 47,000 किलो बैगेज और कार्गो था उस फ्लाइट 295 के ऊपर. प्लेन के उड़ने से पहले टाइवानीज कस्टम ऑफिशियल ने एक रैंडम चेक किया था ऑफ द कार्गो ऑन दिस प्लेन एंड ही हैड फाउंड नथिंग सस्पिशियस. इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को इस प्लेन के ब्लैक बॉक्सेस और बाकी प्लेन को ढूंढना बहुत ही जरूरी काम हो गया था. क्रैश के 30 दिन बाद फंसेल और उनकी टीम को एक बहुत ही खराब न्यूज मिलती है. देयर इज नो सिग्नल डिटेक्टेड फ्रॉम द ब्लैक बॉक्सेस एंड, और उनको इस बात का भी पता नहीं लगा है श्योरिटी से कि मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द प्लेन किस जगह पे है. अभी तक तो है खोज ने जो है $1.5 मिलियन का खर्चा कर चुकी है. And the investigators have not been able to locate the vital evidences in this case. The Hindenburg crash is soon becoming Fonsel's test of his ability and resolve. Investigation जो है वो आगे जाके रुक जाती है क्योंकि फॉन्सेल एक तो ये भी नहीं पता लगा पाए हैं कि किस कारण से आग लगी और ना ही वो ढूंढ पाए हैं द प्लेन्स wreckage. और अगर वो अपनी खोज जारी रखते हैं तो it will cost millions more. And the chances of success are getting increasingly remote.
This wasn't just an airplane, this was a Boeing 747. It was the largest airplane of its type. And this was a 747 of South Africa's national airlines. Hundreds of thousands of people who flew the 747 every day at that time were dependent on a satisfactory answer as to whether or not this aircraft was safe and whether or not there were any structural or design deficiencies in the airplane. So the stakes for us were quite large, and the stakes for Mr. Pansel as the head of the South African investigation were enormous.
It would have been very, very easy for the South African government to say, the water is too deep, it's too far from Mauritius, we cannot investigate this accident.
Well below the grey waves of the Indian Ocean, the wreckage of the Helderberg, it remains hidden. Now one man, Rennie Fonsel, now has to decide कि क्या वो अपनी खोज जारी रखते हैं और पैसा खर्च करते हैं इस एक्सीडेंट में. क्रैश के तकरीबन 2 महीने बाद तक भी किसी को ये श्योरिटी से नहीं पता है कि प्लेन का रैकेज किधर पड़ा है. फंसेल नाउ डिसाइड करते हैं कि वो जो भी रिकवर कर सकते हैं, जो उन्हें मिल रहा है, उसी को रिकवर करते हैं.
Without the wreckage, we'll never know the truth.
So they spent on one investigation what we spent in 6 months of conducting all of our investigations in the United States.
Our investigators, before they salvage this wreckage, they must have to find it first. The wreckage lies somewhere very deep under the water. क्रैश के 61 डेज बाद फॉन्सेल को एक इंट्रीगिंग न्यूज मिलती है अपनी टीम से. Sophisticated sonar equipment has detected a large object 4,400 meters down on a plateau. और ये हो सकता है Helderberg.
And they presented me with a piece of paper with a lot of black dots of various sizes on it, and they said, that's your wreckage. And my question to them was, how do I know it's the wreckage of the 747? Maybe this is a submarine from the Second World War or something. And the response was just, Rennie, it is it, because we tell you it is the wreckage.
But no one has ever gone down so deep to salvage. This included the Titanic. फॉन्सेल के पास अब कोई चारा नहीं है कि ये पता लगाना कि वाकई में ये रैकेज है कि नहीं है. और अब जो है इस इन्वेस्टिगेशन का सबसे खर्चीला ऑपरेशन शुरू होने वाला है, और वो है ऑपरेशन रिजॉल्व. रिमोट कंट्रोल सब विच इज कॉल्ड द Gemini will go down to the ocean floor to videograph what is there on that ocean floor. और अगर वो Helderberg है तो Gemini will look for some key objects including the black boxes. और प्रॉब्लम है इसमें कि जो सब है it has to be connected to the mothership with a high fiber optic cable that is nearly 7 kilometers long. No cable of that length has ever been built.
We needed a 20,000 foot cable. There was no existing cable, so we had to go to a cable manufacturer and get a cable designed and built.
And before this cable has to be manufactured, Fonsel जो है एक और investigation शुरू कर देते हैं about the firefighting capabilities of the Hindenburg. और वो ये खोज करेंगे कि the very design of the combi would have doomed the flight. Investigators अब ये जानने की चाहते हैं कि क्या combi पूरी तरह डिजाइन था, इस तरह डिजाइन था कि वो पैसेंजर्स को बचा पाए उस स्मोक और आग से इस फ्लाइट 295 में.
The smoke should not have entered the combi's cabin.
American team leader Barry Strouch goes to the Boeing headquarters in Seattle to find out about the firefighting capabilities of this combi, and also to find out how the combi was certified in fire prevention. और उनकी टीम ये पता लगा पाती है to comply with the Federal Aviation Administration's directives by setting a bale of tobacco leaves on fire. The firefighting capabilities of the Boeing 747 were tested. When a technician enters the cargo area to fight the demonstration fire, no smoke enters the passenger cabin. The smoke remains localized और आग जल्दी ही बुझा दी जाती है.
Well, that was in the test conditions that Boeing used to get the airplane approved. But in the reality, as we saw in this accident, it didn't work that way because you didn't have a nice clean fire with fans blowing the smoke towards the ceiling. You had pallets, you had a fire that would have grown considerably before the smoke was generated, and you had plastic sheeting that would provide fuel to the fire, in addition to all the cardboard and packing materials within the pallets themselves.
कॉम्बी जो है इस तरह से डिजाइन किया जाता है कि to prevent smoke entering the passenger cabin, the air there is kept at a pressure slightly higher than the cargo cabin. और जब दोनों एरिया के बीच का जो दरवाजा है वो खोल दिया जाता है, air from the passenger cabin should flow into the cargo cabin. Investigators जो हैं अपना ही टेस्ट कंडक्ट करते हैं. They set a large pallet of tightly packed cargo on fire, जैसे कि हिंडरबर्ग में हुआ था. The blaze is more intense and the temperature very hot. Investigators discovered that this much hotter flame has a radical effect on the air in the cabin, cargo cabin. When the cargo door is opened, जो हवा है वो अब cargo door से cargo cabin से passenger cabin में जाने लग जाती है.
Boeing tests used tobacco leaves in batches of tobacco. In the fire in the Helderberg, it was a very, very different fire than the kind of smoke-generating fire that Boeing used in their tests. Heat would have been generated within the cargo compartment that would have created its own pressure and would have negated the pressure differential between the cargo compartment and the passenger compartment. But without the pressure differential, there would be nothing to restrain the smoke and keep it on the cargo side. And therefore the smoke would have penetrated into the passenger side, smoke that contained, as we know, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide.
Then investigators discover something potentially more lethal. और जैसे कि पैसेंजर कैबिन अब धुएं से भरता जा रहा है, तो चेकलिस्ट के मुताबिक क्रू को कैबिन के जो रीसर्कुलेटिंग फैंस थे, उनको चलाने की हिदायत दी गई थी. The intention of the checklist is to dissipate smoke in the passenger cabin after the fire has been extinguished.
Recirculating fan switches. On.
और चूंकि इस केस में turning on the fans would have been very deadly. Fans draw air from above the cabin ceiling and from the cargo area and then recirculate it to the passengers.
The carbon monoxide levels were extremely high and were fatally high. In fact, the one body, and we have to stress again, he was allocated a seat really below the recirc fan inlet area. That was the highest level. I think we're talking around about 66%. That is not a survivable level at all.
अपनी चेकलिस्ट को फॉलो करते हुए the flight crew would have fed toxic fumes into the passenger area.
And it might very well have been that most of your passengers were asphyxiated before impact.
No checklist of the 747 Combi had foreseen the problems faced by the Heckelberg. Cargo fire problem and the cabin smoke problem दोनों इकट्ठी हुई थी और कोई चेकलिस्ट ने ये फोर्सी नहीं किया था कि ऐसा भी कुछ हो जाएगा.
The smoke removal checklist is predicated on the assumption that the fire has been extinguished. In that event, descending to 14,000 feet and opening the cabin door would be the appropriate thing to do. It would get the smoke out of the airplane and enable people to breathe regular air. If the fire hasn't been extinguished, that would have the function of actually increasing the airflow to the fire and increasing the supply of oxygen to the fire. We think that's what happened in this case, that the fire had never been extinguished. And in fact, the crew's attempts to make the situation better may have in fact made the situation worse.
Investigators के दिमाग में ये बात भी आती है, वो realize करते हैं कि fighting the fire in the Combi's cargo area is much more difficult than anticipated before.
If there was a fire in one of these pallets, it was quite likely that by the time the crew was alerted to the fire, it would be too late.
Then the cabin instantly filled up with smoke.
पर फोनसेल को अभी भी ये बात का पता नहीं लगी है कि किस कारण से इतनी भयंकर आग लगी थी, किस तरह से वो ब्लेज की शुरुआत हुई थी और किस तरह से उस आग ने इस प्लेन को नीचे क्रैश करने पे मजबूर किया था। The answers are still deep under the ocean. कितने ही महीने बीत जाते हैं मैन्युफैक्चर करने में वो ऑप्टिक फायर की केबल कि जेमिनाई जो है नीचे समुद्र तल तक पहुंच सके और किस तरह वो नीचे मनूवर कर सके।
We had to take the ROV, existing ROV that we had, which was designed for 6,000 feet, and we had to modify it so it would go to 20,000 feet.
रॉय ट्रूमैन और उनकी टीम को इस सब को एक बहुत ही थिक कोटिंग देनी, सरफेस कोटिंग देनी थी, जिससे कि वो नीचे जो पानी में इतना जबरदस्त प्रेशर होगा उसको विथस्टैंड कर पाए। और उनके कैमरा को भी मॉडिफाई किया गया था। 23 सितंबर 1988 को द जेमिनाई बिकम्स इट्स रिकॉर्ड ब्रेकिंग जर्नी डाउन टू द ओशन फ्लोर।
We were hesitant to say that everything would work because we didn't even have time to do sea trials on this, all of this new equipment.
जो केबल है वो जो क्रू है on the surface of the water, they are able to maneuver this sub at 4,400 meters की डेप्थ पे। It also carries video signals from that remarkable depth. ये पहली बार है कि इंडियन ओशन में इतनी गहराइयों से वीडियो इमेजेस मॉनिटर की जा रही थी। Marine biologists are fascinated by the new species which they see on this ocean floor.
Some of the stuff that we saw on the seabed was pretty mind-blowing.
जबकि वो डिसअपियर हुआ था उसके ठीक 1 साल 1 दिन बाद द हेल्डरबर्ग इज अगेन डिस्कवर्ड। 4400 मीटर की गहराई पे इमेजेस जो ऊपर आती हैं उससे एक ही बात प्रूव होती है कि यही wreckage है ऑफ द साउथ अफ्रीकन एयरवेज फ्लाइट 295 का।
There would be lots of luggage just strewn all over the seabed. Massive structures, the wings, tail, huge parts of the cabin split open, and you could see all of the ribs and the wiring, the hydraulic piping. I mean, it was incredible just to see everything that went into a machine spread over an area of about 5-6 square miles. It was incredible.
Fonsail's expensive gamble is beginning to pay off. उस रैकेट तक पहुंचने के लिए ये जीत है उनकी और उनकी टीम के लिए। But just simply finding the debris is not nearly enough. क्रैश के 1 साल बाद फोनसेल अभी भी होपफुल है that he might be able to recover the cockpit voice recorder.
One of the major aspects we aimed at in Operational Resolve was the recovery of the CVR. We really wanted to know whether the cabin crew reported to the captain that there was an explosion or what was happening at the back.
सौयों घंटों के वीडियो टेप्स are recorded. It's exhausting work.
If you can imagine being on a football field with a flashlight that only illuminates a square foot of the football field, and you're looking for an earring one of the football players lost during the game in the dead of night. That's similar to what it's like when we're on the seabed.
Something catches onto the eyes of a technician at 9 o'clock in the morning, one day.
Go back for a second. I might have passed.
आखिरकार a black box is discovered.
There, that's it. That's it right there. Michael, we found it. We found it.
That was a very fulfilling moment to know, fine, what we had aimed for, we have achieved, we're getting it.
जेमिनाई को पूरे 5 घंटे लगते हैं ब्लैक बॉक्स के इसको ऊपर लाने में सतह पे। और ये खबर जो है न्यूज़पेपर के फ्रंट पेज के हेडलाइन बनती है डिस्कवरी ऑफ द ब्लैक बॉक्स। अब जो है 1989 का टाइम चल रहा है और साउथ अफ्रीका में जो अपार्थाइड गवर्नमेंट है it's still running the show with an iron hand. फॉन्सेल जो है अब एक डिसीजन लेते हैं, वो ब्लैक बॉक्स को लेके जाते हैं सीधा वॉशिंगटन डीसी और वहां पे उसको खोलते हैं.
Because otherwise I would have been accused of having covered up something or left something out or whatever. And we, the FAA and the NTSB guys, all listened to this tape at the same time for the first time.
टेंशन जो है कमरे में बहुत हाई होती है और कॉकपिट वॉइस रिकॉर्डर में आखिरी आधे घंटे की रिकॉर्डिंग्स हुई होंगी कॉकपिट की. बट द टेप टर्न्स आउट टू बी अ मेजर फ्रस्ट्रेशन. 1 साल से ज्यादा टाइम के लिए वो समुद्र तल पे पड़ा हुआ था और अब समझ पाना कुछ भी आवाजें बहुत ही मुश्किल का काम हो रहा है.
It was the worst time of my life, sitting in the playback room at the NTSB facilities, and you watch the time and there is absolutely no indication of problems on the tape. And I'm watching the clock. At about 25 minutes, I was really getting very, very anxious.
पहले 28 मिनट में टेप जो है कुछ भी अनयूजुअल रिकॉर्ड नहीं करता है और उसके बाद सब कुछ बदल जाता है.
The next minute, of course, the alarm bell goes on the CVR, and we had about a minute's worth of relevant recording on the tape before the tape stopped.
जो ब्लैक बॉक्स होता है वो नॉर्मली रिकॉर्ड्स दी लास्ट 30 मिनट्स ऑफ द फ्लाइट, लेकिन इस केस में ऐसा नहीं था. Investigators are able to listen to the start of this disaster before the tape mysteriously runs out. ये वो नहीं था जो कि फॉन्सेल सोच रहे थे, but still it gives some inside news about the fire.
Read out the fire checklist for us, please.
14 seconds after the fire alarm goes off, the plane's circuit breakers pops out.
Breaker popped as well. Huh? We'll check the breaker panel as well. Yeah.
इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स का ये मानना है कि तकरीबन 80 सर्किट ब्रेकर्स वर disabled. Wires to the cockpit voice recorder are destroyed 81 seconds after the alarm goes off. Fire alarm. जिस की एविडेंस की तलाश थी उनको फॉन्सेल को अभी तक वो नहीं मिला है. But the fire is believed to be more violent than previously thought. The recording leaves many questions unanswered. लेकिन फिर भी वो काफी है फॉन्सेल को एक रीच करने के लिए पर्सनल ओपिनियन जो उनका है कि किस तरह से ये प्लेन क्रैश हुआ होगा.
A lot of things were happening in the cockpit, and we believe that he probably was faced to up to 80 circuit breakers popping in the cockpit at the time. May have made controlling of the aircraft extremely difficult. And the possibility then even of the airplane just gradually descending into the sea. Whether it was a controllable flight, I have my doubts.
I put myself in the cockpit on this thing and I said, I would have been terrified. Having this, and just figuring out what do we do. Did they do the checklist correctly? We'll never know.
लेकिन इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स को ये बात का अभी भी पता नहीं लगा है कि किस तरह से हेटलबर्ग की आग शुरू हुई थी. और अब जो मिस्ट्री है वो इसी तरह सॉल्व होगी टू सैल्वेजिंग द पार्ट्स ऑफ द मिसिंग प्लेन.
We realized that what we had to do was just to continue recover as much wreckage as we could from the ocean floor.
Fonsel now focuses on some key wreckage of the cargo area. वो सब एक हैंगर में लाए जाते हैं और फिर से उनको जोड़ा जाता है like a big jigsaw puzzle. His plan is to reconstruct the whole cargo area where the fire is believed to have started. फॉन्सेल को इस बात का भी पता लगता है कि जो कार्गो एरिया का जो फ्लोर है it is untouched by the fire.
So we know that the fire never burned lower than 1 meter of the cargo floor.
But the floor and the front walls of the front cargo area reveal a very violent fire. वो एक और खोज करते हैं कि the seat of the fire was on the front right pallet of the cargo.
So we were looking at a very localized fire on one pallet.
The front right pallet was basically filled with computers, protected by polystyrene packages. Investigators का ऐसा भी मानना है कि जो पैलेट में आग लगी थी, it came in contact with the packaging material, और उससे जो है गैसेस निकली, which were accumulating near the ceiling. और जब ये गैसेस गर्म हो गई तो इनमें आग लग गई थी, जो कि पूरे कार्गो होल्ड तक फैली थी फिर.
Once smoke penetrated the polyethylene sheets, that fire would have been very, very hot.
फेंसेल का ऐसा मानना है कि ये पैकिंग मटेरियल ने इस आग को बढ़ोतरी दी होगी और कई जगह तक और फैलाया होगा, लेकिन किस तरह शुरुआत में आग लगी ये बात का पता अभी भी फोंसेल को नहीं लगा है. After millions of dollars and 1.5 years of investigation, अब फोंसेल को अपनी ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन बंद करनी पड़ेगी.
I would have felt a lot better if we had been in a better position to give more factual information to the board to consider, but that was not to be, and we were not going to fabricate.
But the interest in the wreckage of Helderberg did not die. Dark rumors continue to spread regarding the cause of the fire.
It's against this backdrop of a very repressive apartheid government. At that particular time, the first thought, I think, for many, many South Africans was what was on that plane. Was there something in that cargo hold that could have caused that terrible fire? Because planes don't just burst into flames mid-air and crash.
उसके बाद एक South African government chemist makes a startling discovery, which leads to a controversial new theory. A microscopic iron particle on the nylon netting next to the pallet has a unique profile. The airflow pattern on the iron suggests that it traveled in a very high velocity while in a molten state. और इससे ये निकल के आती है बात सामने कि the fire on the Helderberg was not a flash fire started by the packing material.
This was a different kind of fire. This was a fire that had its own oxygen. If you can imagine something like a sparkler, which has fuel and its own oxygen, it was some kind of material similar to a sparkler that we feel was the cause of the fire.
British fire and explosive analyst examines the exterior skin of the plane above the pallet and comes up with another piece of evidence which supports the new theory. Skin on the outside part of the plane reaches a temperature of around 300 degrees Celsius.
You must remember that it's very difficult to burn through an airplane skin in flight because the tremendous amount of cooling from the airflow on the outside of the skin.
Dr. David Gladstone is one of the few who proposes the new theory.
It would have involved substances which normally would not have been carried aboard an aircraft, particularly a passenger aircraft. In other words, it could not have been a normal packing material, wood, cardboard, plastic fire. You don't carry the things of that nature which carry their own oxygen, which can produce an accelerated fire, for a number of reasons, one of which they are generally unstable. The second reason is that normal fire extinguishing methods will not put them out.
What could start such a fire? The only thing mentioned in the cargo manifest of this plane is computer batteries. कईयों का ऐसा भी मानना है कि हेल्डरबर्ग ऐसा कार्गो कैरी कर रहा होगा जो कि लिस्टेड नहीं होगा. उस समय तक साउथ अफ्रीका वाज अंडर द इंटरनेशनल आर्म्स एम्बार्गो और देश उस समय अंगोला से भी लड़ाई कर रहा था.
South Africa didn't have capacity to do everything itself, and there were times when it had to buy from other countries. SAA was seen as a surrogate cargo carrier, that they could somehow, through its commercial airline use, also bring in substances for the South African government, undercover, under protection, no questions asked.
It was not that easy for them to fly a quasi-military airline into different countries and pick up military contraband, which you must remember we were laboring under an arms embargo at the time.
जो मीडिया है वो इस आग को और भी बढ़ा देता है कि क्या हो सकता है कि क्या साउथ अफ्रीकन गवर्नमेंट जो है पैसेंजर जेट्स को यूज करके आर्म्स मंगा रही हो अपनी लड़ाई के लिए दूसरे कंट्रीज के. आर्म्स कोर इज द corporation responsible for supplying the South African armed forces with ammunition.
At the time, there was a need to produce a better rocket system, a more efficient rocket system for dealing with the air menace in Angola. And the rocketry systems which are used for those purposes have as their propellant, a major component of the propellant is ammonium perchlorate. And that is what I believe was being carried aboard the Helderberg. But it is not the sort of compound you want on an aircraft when you are flying on that aircraft, because it is unstable, it is susceptible to self-ignition by any kind of vibration and violent movement.
जो ऑफिशियल इन्वेस्टिगेशंस हुई थी इस केस में वो इस बात तक नहीं पहुंचती कि हिल्डरबर्ग वाज कैरिंग आर्म्स, लेकिन जो रूमर थी वो चस की तरह बनी हुई थी. क्रैश के 10 साल के बाद भी जो डार्क थ्योरीज थी वो दे फोर्स द साउथ अफ्रीकन गवर्नमेंट टू लुक अगेन इनटू दिस मैटर. द हिल्डरबर्ग एक्सीडेंट ने ये बात को साबित कर दिया था कि 747 कॉम्बी जो है इट इज वनरेबल इन केस ऑफ एन ऑन बोर्ड फायर. और इस एक्सीडेंट के बाद तो साउथ अफ्रीकन एयरवेज ने ये कॉम्बी जहाज उड़ाने ही बंद कर दिए थे.
And the FAA went through and developed some new regulations, but for the weight and everything that was going to have to be added in there did not make it an economically feasible. And so essentially after the Helderberg accident, 747 copies were not used anymore.
और अमेरिकन ऑफिशियल्स इस बात को नोट करते हैं. जो 159 लोगों ने जान गंवाई थी इस एक्सीडेंट में, उनके लिए मेमोरियल और ट्रिब्यूट पे किए गए थे. बट क्लोजर डज नॉट कम इजीली फॉर द फैमिलीज.
I need an answer for why I was orphaned at 14. And I feel that, as I say, I'm probably touching on hearsay, but there's a lot of evidence that does point to something not being right on that flight, and that the flight was carrying something illicit.
इस क्रैश के 10 साल बाद जो नई सरकार आई थी साउथ अफ्रीका में, वो जो है फिर से कमीशन सेटअप करती है टू री एग्जामिन दिस केस.
The Truth Commission was tasked with basically uncovering the truth about apartheid atrocities, and one of the areas it was tasked to look at was the role of the SAA in sanctions busting during the 80s and whether or not the Helderberg was a freak accident or not.
1998 में The Truth and the Reconciliation Committee makes a very controversial discovery, और वो ये थी कि nothing in the things which are listed in the cargo manifest would have started this fire.
And the Truth Commission recommended that there was something untoward about what had happened to the Helderberg.
The Truth and Reconciliation Commission exposed the improbabilities of the government version as to what had happened.
अगर जो कार्गो इन्वेंट्री में कोई भी ऐसी चीज नहीं थी जिस कारण से आग लगी थी, तो फिर भी किसने आग लगाई और कैसे?
The reality, unfortunately, is unless somebody today comes up and says, yes, I did this, or yes, we were responsible for this, and you can prove them not to be involved in a hoax, that will be possibly the only time in which we will really know what had happened and caused and was the source of ignition of the fire.
In its final report, जो कमीशन है उसने ये सजेशन दी कि अटॉर्नी जनरल्स ऑफिस इट कंटिन्यूज टू investigate this incident.
But surprisingly, that has never happened. The ANC-led government hasn't pursued that. And of course we have to ask ourselves why. And I think that the answer lies in what many people believe, is that it's just going to be too costly.
They don't want to open it for the simple reason that it will be financially disastrous for the airline.
रेनी फोन्सेल ने अपनी जिंदगी के कितने ही साल लगा दिए थे investigating this Helderberg incident. His inability to definitely prove the cause of the fire does not stop him from seeing the benefit of his investigation.
I believe that we as a team had done the best that we could under extreme challenging conditions and circumstances. What we had done had never been done before. It was pioneering work. The frustration is we could not establish the source of ignition, and we will probably never know.
I believe that those people are still out there that know exactly what happened to that aircraft. I know that their thought processes at the time were our country was at war and they were doing their duty for their country, but I just feel that they should have a heart for the families and bring out that information.
तो दोस्तों इसी के साथ खत्म होता है हमारा आज का शो, आपके फेवरेट शो डिजास्टर दुर्घटनाएं का। ये शो जो आप हर हफ्ते सुनते हैं आपके फेवरेट इंटरनेट रेडियो स्टेशन रेडियो उड़ान पे, जो कि है अ फ्लाइट ऑफ लाइफ। और आज के शो में हमने चर्चा करी 27 नवंबर 1987 की एक घटना। अगर आप मेरे शो को फीडबैक देना चाहते हैं तो आप रेडियो उड़ान की वेबसाइट www.radioudan.com में जाके फीडबैक फॉर्म भर सकते हैं, या आप मुझे मेल भी सेंड कर सकते हैं। मेरी मेल आईडी है bhamri.r@gmail.com, यानी कि bhambri.r@gmail.com। तो दीजिए इजाजत मुझे, यानी कि आपके दोस्त आपके होस्ट भामरी को समेटने का आज का शो। मिलूंगा मैं आपसे अगले हफ्ते ठीक इसी दिन, ठीक इसी समय और ठीक इसी इंटरनेट रेडियो स्टेशन पे, जो कि है रेडियो उड़ान। और करेंगे हम चर्चा उस आने वाले शो में एक नई दुर्घटना, एक नई डिजास्टर की। तो नमस्कार, शुभ रात्रि, शब खैर, गुड नाइट, गॉड ब्लेस।
हेलो एवरीवन, किशन बात कर रहा हूँ सक्षम से। आप सभी को बताना चाहता हूँ कि सक्षम आपके लिए एक नया ऑफर लेके आया है, जिसके तहत आप कोई भी सामान 100 रुपये से ऊपर का अगर ऑर्डर करते हैं हमारी वेबसाइट sectech.in से, तो उसके साथ आपको एक ब्रेल कैलेंडर फ्रॉम RLF बिल्कुल फ्री मिलेगा। मैं आप सभी को बताना चाहूँगा कि अगर आप कोई भी ऑर्डर प्लेस करते हैं हमारी वेबसाइट से, तो उसकी जो डिलीवरी है वो 3 मई के बाद ही हो पाएगी। तो जल्दी ऑर्डर प्लेस करिए क्योंकि ऑफर लिमिटेड समय तक है। थैंक यू।
अगर चोट आसानी से लगे तो मदद भी आसानी से मिलनी चाहिए। इसलिए अब से सागवान की बोतल आती है नेत्रहीन सहायक ब्रेल मार्किंग के साथ।